Well, hello there, it's me, Muster0063 back again, and we are picking up the Mega Man Let's Play Perfect Run project with Mega Man 3. Another fan favourite in the classic series, and this time, in my opinion, rightly so. Yeah, Mega Man 2 is not near the top of my personal favourite list, but Mega Man 3 is, albeit not right at the top. For the most part, well, I find anyway, the game's pretty easy. Some very simple Robot Master stages to beat, not necessarily to perfect run, and the Fortress has got to be the easiest in existence. Now granted, the Doc Robot's swing the difficultyometer in the complete opposite direction, but still, this game is fun, and that's why I love it. I always get much more enjoyment out of this game than I do when playing Mega Man 2. Now unfortunately we're back to the game not telling you anything about what's going on in the story, but while we listen to the truly awesome title theme music, I'll briefly sum up the story. Dr. Light is involved in a peacekeeping project, aka Gamma, but needs some energy crystals in order to complete it. Dr. Wily has seen the error of his ways and has returned to assist Dr. Light. He even knows where the last of the energy crystals are located. But unfortunately, robots are running amok in the mining worlds and destroying everything. But according to the instruction booklet, Dr. Light's instructions are: Mega Man, get to those mining worlds pronto. Grab the crystals and stop whoever's in charge. He's one lunatic guy. Well, at least this time that lunatic guy isn't Dr. Wily. That's a relief, isn't it? Here we have our new set of 8 Robot Masters. 4 of them, by the way, appear to be smiling. So they can't be all that menacing, can they? Let's kick things off with one of those shiny happy robots, Topman. His stage has one of my all-time favourite Mega Man soundtracks. I absolutely love this music. We start out in a room with nuts and bolts. These combine together and they're not destroyable until they're joined together. And some more hoppy type enemies that bounce on the floor, and you'll never know each time how far or high they'll hop. Now again, I'm not too bothered about finding out all the official names of the enemies. Most of the time they can be pretty silly anyway. If I do happen to know them, then fine, but otherwise, no. It's the hoppers, if anything, that'll catch you off guard here. The nuts and bolts are slow moving and shouldn't pose any problems. Now when descending the ladder, you can obviously just immediately drop down to the floor, but if you hang on the bottom of it, you can take out this top generating enemy from a distance. One really intimidating nut and bolt here, and the tiny gaps between platforms mean that if you ever land on the spikes here, then you're really going to struggle with the rest of the game. Some adorable Digamets here. 3 shots to the head will take them out rather nicely. Missing a shot is often a cause of panic for me, but if you keep relaxed, they're not that threatening. A couple of slightly awkwardly placed Mets here, and you want to generally do a better job of taking them out than I manage here. At least the first one anyway. The more room you leave yourself to avoid the pellet shots, if they fire them, the better. Time for the first 2 sub-bosses. A giant cat called Tamer. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Similar to tame, something you might label a cat? Nah. Well, this thing is anything but. It spits out a couple of yarn balls, and you ideally want to take this thing out quickly before dodging them becomes a real pain. It's definitely the harder of the 2 cats, incidentally. Another top generator here, and although the staircase screen layout can potentially throw you off, it really shouldn't be anything to worry about. And here's the second of the 2 giant cats, and this one affords you considerably more room to manoeuvre in. If you're quick enough, like me here, you can kill it before it even launches its fleas at you. It'll do so after spitting out 2 yarn balls. Now here you want to wait for the Met to drop down before attempting to either kill it or get by it, and personally I recommend the killing option. Now this top generator is annoyingly positioned. You need to slide through the narrow gap immediately after having shot a spinning top and jump up and hit the next spinning top coming your way before it gets you. That can be a little tricky to pull off as you don't have a lot of time between the spinning tops being generated. And lastly, there are these spinning top platforms to traverse. Stand still on them and they'll rock you from side to side, but won't ever slide you into the pit themselves. Just make sure you don't ever get too low in order to reach your next spinning top. Now that brings us to Topman, one of the easiest Robot Masters in the classic series. Not least because the fight goes the same way every single time, and nothing he does, unlike say Iceman, is difficult at all to dodge. You'll start off by throwing 3 spinning tops up in the air, and after a short period hanging there, they'll home in on you. A slide out of the way, typically in the direction away from Topman, will do the trick. You'll then spin on the spot, and after a short period spin across the other side of the screen. A well-timed jump, or even a poorly timed one, to be honest, will clear him. He's invincible while in his spinning motion, but meh. Then he'll just keep repeating the same pattern over again until you put him out of his misery. And now we actually experience a scene where Mega Man seemingly gains the ability to copy a Robot Master's weapon ability. Interesting. We do also see the now typical weapon get screen, telling us what wonderful new power we've acquired. Well, wonderful in theory, not so much this time. The top spin will, I'm sure, make it onto anyone's most useless weapon abilities list. For the record, it allows you to spin into enemies, but killing anything without taking a hit yourself is a challenge all by itself. So in case you missed it, that wasn't Perfect Run. Guts, Heat and now Top, all accidentally. Yeah, this stage is pretty easy to Perfect Run, and well again, although strictly not necessary, enjoy the black and white original. Thank you for joining me already for the second Perfect Run of my Mega Man 3 project, assuming you already watched the Let's Play part. This was of course though the first stage I managed to clear. And I'm going to be very specific about the number of outtakes I suffered during this run through. That will come into play in a little while. And although much as I'd like to be able to say it was 0, sadly that wasn't the case. But the first trouble spot isn't for about another half a minute, so until then, sit back and enjoy the kick-ass music. Okay, I'm back talking again. So that can only mean one thing. This was a trouble spot. And indeed it was. On 2 occasions. The first giant cat, if you don't take it out quickly, can be bothersome. After a while, the timing for when you can jump over one of the yarn balls, land and jump over the other yarn ball, seems to get narrower and narrower, until eventually, as I did, you'll land right on one, or not even have enough time to make your jump before one of them runs into you. The second giant cat, as said, is much easier, and didn't mess up any of my attempts. Now coming up is that awkwardly placed top generating enemy I mentioned earlier. It likewise ended my run on 2 occasions. Both of them because I missed my shot on the spinning top that approached me just after I'd slid through the gap. You need to be quick, and although I had been, missing your shot is a surefire way to balls up this area as well. Now I have an amusing story about Topman, so let's kick that off now so that I have enough time to tell it. I'll start by simply stating that I suffered 1 outtake on Topman. Yes, I've been bleating on about how easy he is, having actually got hit to him on a perfect run attempt. It wasn't quite your typical outtake though. It was my fault, which is why I include it, but not how you might think. Basically, you know that thing that gamers tend to do when in a close situation? They'll move and jerk the controller in a motion that's not too dissimilar to how a character dodges something on screen. Well, that's what I did. And obviously the controller must have just been slightly loose in the socket, because lo and behold, when I jerked the controller, having cut a jump over Topman more closely than I would have ideally liked, I pulled the damn thing out of the socket, and by the time I realised what on earth had happened, one of his spinning tops got me. Yay, a failure on Topman. As said, not really anything from a gameplay point of view, but I'm compelled to include it in my outtake count nonetheless. But he's down. And pulling controllers out of their socket aside, you're still insanely easy though, aren't you? Can't you just give me a little bit more of a challenge? Apparently not. Well, okay, maybe yes. That fight is infinitely harder than regular Topman, yet it's still pretty easy to be honest. It's my one to be the diverse, in case you were wondering, and something I just couldn't resist including. Gotta love that absolute kick-ass remix of Topman stage as well. Shifting the focus back to Mega Man 3, it only took me 15 minutes to achieve the perfect run of Topman stage. I suffered 6 outtakes with that ridiculous one on Topman. 6, I hear you say? But you said you were going to be very specific about the number of failures, and I only counted 5. 2 to the giant cat, 2 to the top generator, and that one ridiculous one on Topman. Well, there really were 6. More on that in just a moment. As far as the stage goes, the first giant cat and the awkwardly placed top generator enemy at the very end of the stage are the only real concerns. And if you're quick and not at all clumsy when dealing with either enemy, neither are that bad. Topman is a complete pushover, as long as you have control of your controller. I'm never going to live that down, am I? Still, I suppose if it was going to happen, Top's not a bad time for it, unlike, say, any of Fire, Ice or Elect from Mega Man 1. Despite 2, yes, don't worry, I'll get to it, fairly untypical outtakes, what with the short time it took to beat and the awesome music playing alongside, I was immensely happy while playing this stage. I doubt it therefore comes as any real surprise that Topman only earns 1 out of 10 from me. I consider him to be even easier than Heatman, who so far is the only other Robot Master to earn the lowly 1 out of 10 score. It's a perfect run. So, the mystery 6th, and by now you'll know, untypical outtake. Well, you're in luck. I've said numerous times during these videos that unfortunately I don't have outtakes to show you. This time I do have one to show you, because it's just so unfair that I had to keep a copy of it. So, time for a little quiz. Was this outrageously unfair outtake? Although again, if something like this was going to happen, top stage at least demonstrates some mercy from the game's side, due to A. Mega Man deciding he'd like to hump a wall and subsequently getting stuck in said wall. B. Mega Man developing an instant allergic reaction to ladders. Or C. Mega Man having to go parachuting without a parachute when a giant spinning top platform did not materialise. Place your bets now. Now, there's no commentary during this outtake, and so as to build somewhat a feeling of suspense, the clip will start from the beginning of the stage. With that in mind, I'll say my farewell now. Hopefully you've enjoyed this action-packed video. There's been a lot more content in this one than almost any other Robot Master stage to date, and I hope I've done enough to attract you to join me next time. Cheerio. What the...